This course is going to be a quick tutorial on the basics of Adobe Illustrator Creative Cloud. It's a super complex program, but you can use it in a really simple way to increase the speed of your workflow, and actually it's one of the easier ways to design things for TPT, Teachers Pay Teachers. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, this is what the icon looks like. Okay, so you click on that to open up Illustrator, and we are going to create something new. So you can either click here to create something new, or go up here to File and then Create New. It's all grayed out right now because we're in the process of that, but you can say new from a template if you've saved it, or you can open something that you've been working on. Okay, we're going to create something brand new, and I usually like to do it in inches, just so I've got an idea of how big it is. That kind of goes with my scrapbook brain. So I like to do, if you're going to be creating a cover, then it needs to be square. If you're going to be creating an actual page for a resource, then you need to decide, is it going to be portrait or landscape, and then you go from there. And I'm actually on a video setting right now, so I'm going to move over here to print. You can see my last size was 11 by 11 or 600 by 600 pixels. So this is kind of helpful, because then you can just click on what size it is that you've used recently. This would be a print size, 8.5 by 11, or I could flip that. So let's pretend we're doing that one first. So I'm going to make something that's 8.5 by 11, and right now it is landscape. If I wanted it to be portrait, sorry, it's portrait. If I wanted it to be landscape, I would click on this one and see how it changes the width to 11 and the height to 8.5. And then this is how many artboards you want. How many pages is your resource going to be? So if your resource was going to be 10 pages, you would put 10 here, and it's going to create 10 separate artboards, which I'll show you what those look like in just a second. Right now we just want one. For covers, you want something square, so this 12 by 12 would be a great setup, or you could do 11 by 11. It doesn't really matter. Bigger is just easier for you to see on the screen, but there's a zoom feature as well. And then this would be a pin size. 600 by 900 is for pins, so you can see that that one's in pixels, not in inches, because that's how you design for Pinterest pins. And these are all things that I've done previously, so that's why they're here as a selection. You're probably not going to see this right off the bat, but once you've made a few things, then you'll start seeing these, and you can just click on those to start your next project, or you can just tell it over here. Okay, up here you've got options. See, we're in recent right now. You can choose to design for mobile, web, print, film and video, art, and illustration. So I told you this program is huge, and it's powerful. Most of the time you're just going to be designing for web or print, and I do everything in print, and then I just make sure that I save for the web if it's going to be on the web. That way I don't accidentally create something for print but create it with too small of a resolution. So you'll see most of these say print. I just change that when I save it. So let's pretend that we're going to create a resource. So we're going to click on this one, and I want it to be regular 8.5 by 11. I'm just designing something sweet and simple. Okay, this is your artboard. Okay, your tools are over here. Artboard is here, and then whatever tool you're in, these are your options here across the top. Okay, and then also down the side is another set of tools. The things you're really going to use the most over here when you first get started is this one for your text. Okay, that's your text character. This one is great for alignment. Okay, this is really super similar to PowerPoint. If you've used the align tools there, you know this means everything gets centered horizontally, and if you're not sure what it means, it does the little float over to tell you what it is. Okay, horizontal align right, horizontal align left. This is to distribute things, like if you want everything to be evenly spaced based on its middle. This is evenly spaced based on its top and bottom, and then you can figure these out, obviously. This is horizontal distribute by middle. Okay, this is your text, so this is where you would change your font and its size. You can change the line spacing, which is the space in between your text. Okay, I'll show you that in a second. This is how far apart your letters are, and then this is its slant, which I don't really mess with much. Otherwise, over here, the only other two things you're going to use is this one, which is for layers, and you can select this second one of two ways. Artboards, see how it automatically takes you down to the artboard there. So this one you bounce back and forth. Artboards, we have one artboard currently, and then layers, we have one layer. This is your pieces of glass and how you are stacking things on top of each other, and I'll show you that when we start creating. Artboards, if you wanted another page for your resource, I'm going to hit Command- just so that my screen goes a little bit, or the size of my artboard goes a little bit smaller and I can see everything on there. I can either click this for a new artboard, okay? I can go up to File, I think Artboards, and then, no, that's different. I usually just use this tool right here. This is your Artboard tool, and when you click on that, see how it changes things up here? Your preset size is letter, it's portrait currently. The name of the artboard that's currently selected is Artboard 2, and I can add another by clicking this sticky note looking thing, and then when I bring my cursor down, it shows me where I want to place it. So maybe I want to place it off-centered, or it's a note one and I want to put it up here. You get to decide where you want to put it, okay? When you pushed down here, it automatically added it based on your artboard setup and spacing. This one, it kind of gives you a little bit more leeway on where you want to place it. And see how I've got a 4-way arrow now? I can drag and drop this however I want, okay, move it, or if I don't want it, then I just click this X to get rid of it. I can delete artboards that way, or I can also delete artboards by selecting one over here and then hitting this trash button and it throws it away. Okay, so there's multiple ways to do something. You just have to figure out which way you're more comfortable working with it. Okay, so again, Command minus makes your area that you're working in larger, or smaller. Command plus makes it larger. That's just to zoom in. So you'll notice this right here is changing. It's not changing the size of my artboard, it's just changing the size on my screen while I'm viewing it. Okay, so that's the tools over here, text, align. There are ways to set this up custom, and I don't remember exactly how to do that. I think you might be able to, yeah, expand panels, auto show hidden panels. You can create your own workspace, and that's what these are for up here. And then you can create a new workspace and tell it what tools you want over there. I just really leave it here with the essentials because sometimes you might need something over here and you won't know it until you are actually in the middle of working and then decide you want it. Plus I use some of those differently for different projects. So this is kind of the basics, and I just leave it set up that way and then use the 3 or 4 things that I need from it. Over here, you'll notice there's this little tag or this little triangle in the bottom right corner of some of these. That means there's other tools hidden in there. Okay, so this is your pen tool, and you would if you select your pen tool, so you could click on here, or it's P on your keyboard, and then you click on your artboard, you'll see it leaves a dot. Okay, that's an anchor point, and then you can move your pen somewhere else and put a dot, and that's a new anchor point. Okay, so that's one way to draw lines on your board. And then when you get them all, you've got a connected shape. To get off that, you just click your regular selection tool here, or V. See when you hover on that and it shows you selection tool and then it's got V in parentheses, that's telling you you can use that letter on your keyboard to select that tool. Okay, so now this would be a vector image, and it's sizable, right? Rotatable, whatever it is you want to do with it once it's on your page. This is how you, great way to make shapes and things really quickly, is your pen tool. But then you've also got this tool right here where it says rectangle, okay, and you would click that, and then you would click and drag and drop, and you've got a box. Okay, this is currently a white box with a black outline. If I wanted to change that, I could either click here and put in a hex value, or drag and drop to a different color. Okay, or you've got pre-selected colors up here, and there are libraries where you can get even more colors. These are just your generic basic set of colors. Okay, so let's say we want to make this box green, and then we want to make the outline red, no, blue, and we want to give it a stroke of 5. So now you've just made a frame really quick and easily. Okay, with this is your stroke or your border, and then this is the inside of your box. What if you wanted to flip those colors? Well, you just click this, and now you've got a blue, well, you should have, oh, sorry, we weren't selected, so it has to be selected. So you can tell when it's selected, similar to PowerPoint, it's got a bounding box on it, okay? And then you flip this, and now I've got a blue interior with a green border. Okay, maybe I don't want a border anymore, so I'm gonna click this border so that it's front. That means I'm working on it right now, and then click this none, and it takes the border off. Okay, so these 3 tools right here are huge. Remembering your color selection up here once your item is selected, right? And then this shape can, if you hold on it, you can change it. Now you can do a rounded rectangle. Okay, so rounds the radius here, and you can change that radius by clicking and dragging here, okay? Or if you want to make a certain size box, you click one time on your page and then tell it you want it to be 3 inches by 5 inches and you want a corner radius of 0.3, and it creates it for you instantly, okay? So all these different shapes here are options underneath this rectangle box, okay? If you forget where something is, just look for shapes and then remember that this arrow means there's other tools under there. So click and hold and it'll show you what else there is. Okay, this is to create lines. This is for your text. And if you hold that, there are a bazillion other text options. You can do text in an area, which means it'll fill up the shape of this box here. Okay, you can do text on a line or on a path, so that means it can follow the path of something, like if you've created a shape. Vertical, just what it says, it's going to type it up and down. Vertical inside the area, vertical on the path, and then I don't use the touch type tool very often. I'm not sure what that does. This is your erasers, scissors and knife to erase things. Usually if I need to erase something though, I'm just going to delete it and then start again when I create it. Okay, so you just select it with a bounding box, hit delete on your keyboard, and the shape is gone. Okay. This eyedropper tool is interesting. You can have, let's say we've got this, and then you copy and paste this a few times, so we've got different shapes. We're going to make them different colors. So I want this one to be green and this one to be yellow. Okay, and then I'm going to make a third shape, or a fourth shape, sorry, and I want this, let's say this one was currently orange, and I wanted it to be similar to this color. Okay, instead of having to go up here to find the color, maybe it's a special color and it's not in your bar up here and it's one that you've used with a hex code. If this shape is selected, then you click this eyedropper tool and go over here to any of these colors. It will change that object to the color that you're eyedroppering, okay, or selecting. So that's how you can switch things quickly, and I can do that multiple times. Maybe I want all of these yellow, so I select them all, hit my eyedropper tool, which is also I on your keyboard. Okay, and now I can make them all yellow. So it's a quick way to change things in Illustrator. Anything else over here that I use frequently? That's about it. Okay, so I kind of stick to this column. This rotate tool is interesting and fun sometimes, but not necessarily always needed. You can click on this and then see how you get a curved arrow. I can rotate this by hand. If you hold shift, it'll go in certain degrees. It goes 90 degrees each time, right? So that corner is going from 0, 315, 270 or 225, sorry, 180, 135, and then back to 40 or 90 and then 45, and then I can put it back at 0. Okay, so if you hold shift, you know you're going to go a perfect 90 degrees. Otherwise, it's up to you to kind of determine where you want that angle at. And you can use this transform key up here to change that. I don't mess with it much just because it doesn't always do exactly what I want, or I can't figure out, so I just do it by hand. Okay, so now that one's at 120 based on where I'd left it. Let's see. So you can also access your align tools from up here on the top. Okay, you can change your shape. I don't usually mess inside that. I do use this transform. Sometimes I want something a specific size and I don't want to look at these numbers here that pop up when I'm doing height and width and try to get it just right. See, right now I'm at 175 by 185. If I hold the shift key, it'll keep it in the same ratio that it was previously. I want to change this to 1 inch by 1 inch. Actually 1 inch, and I want it to keep ratio first. So let's do that. So I click on that transform key right here, and then if I type in 1 inch here and hit enter, because this block here is highlighted, it's going to keep its ratio. It stayed the way it was. Well, maybe I want it 1 inch by 1 inch square, and its ratio isn't currently that way. I'm going to undo this ratio lock and then do 1 here and 1 here. And now the shape, when I hit enter, is going to go to 1 by 1 perfectly. Okay. You can also just do that when you click on this shape tool. Like say you want a circle that's 1 inch radius. You click and you tell it 1 by 1, or 1 inch diameter, sorry, and there you have it. Okay, so that's kind of the basics of Illustrator as far as your tools. The other thing to look at, we've already done Artboards, okay, which is adding more spaces to work or more pages to our project, right? Layers is where the fun comes in, okay? So you got to think about this like pieces of glass. And I'm going to work on this page over here, or this layer now, or page, artboard. I want a background first that covers my whole page, and I want it to be a certain color. So I'm going to make that square. I can either click and drag, or I can click this and one time on my page and tell it I want 8.5 by 11 and OK, and it should be the exact size. Okay. So now I have a square in the background. Now I need another square to be white. Oops, I still had it selected. Okay, so let's make the next one white, and I want it to be 8 by 10.5. Okay, and then I hit V. I was on this shape, so then I hit V because I want to go back to my selection tool so that I can move this without creating another shape. Okay, and they're relatively lined up, but they're not great lined up, right? So what I'm going to do is, hold on, two things. First, I'm going to create another layer so that I can move this one to its own layer. So I want my papers to be, like, say this is my paper, one layer, and then I want this square to be on a separate layer, but I accidentally made it on layer 1. Okay, you can rename your layers too so that you know what they are. So I double clicked on the title. I'm going to call this background, and then I'm going to call this one frame. You can see where I'm going here because this is where it starts to get pretty easy when you're actually designing resources. And we'll go into this more in depth when we actually design resources with it. This is just a quick basic how your tools work. Okay, so if I'm selected on this frame, see how it's blue around the outside, and this layer right here is blue. Anything that's on that layer is going to have a blue highlight. I want this one to move to the red layer. So I'm selected on it. I'm going to double click or right finger click to get this, depending on if you're using your mouse. Mouse would be a right click. Keypad would be a double finger click. Okay, and then I want to arrange my layers, and I have to highlight the layer I want it to go to first. Sorry, so let's start over. I want this blue square to move to this red layer. So I'm going to highlight the red layer once this is highlighted. Okay, then I'm going to two finger click or right click, arrange, and I want to send it to the current layer. See how the outside box turned red? That means it's now on this layer. So maybe I don't want to mess with my background anymore. I'm going to lock it so that I can't move it. Now I can't move any of these things that are on that background layer. Okay, but I can still move this red one. Before I do that though, I want to align these two so that they're perfect. So I can highlight from two separate layers at the same time. I've now highlighted the background layer and this front layer. See how I've got a red and a blue? It's saying I've highlighted from the red and blue layer. And then I'm going to go up here to align, and I want to align them center. Watch what happens to my boards or to my objects. See how they both moved a little? Okay, and then I want center, top, and bottom. Now they're both lined up, but notice how they came off my artboard a little bit. And my yellow one was perfect before. So I'm going to click off of it, and I'm going to hit undo twice. So Command Z 2 times, because I did two functions, and that's not what I wanted yet. So I'm going to do one other thing. Okay. Don't try to remember all this. You can come back and watch it again, or the more you work, the more you'll start to remember these little tricks. Okay, but this is just so that you know there's a trick available, and then you can learn it when you're ready. I'm going to highlight both of these. Okay, so I've got both highlighted again. I want everything to line up based on this yellow one. So without clicking anything else, I'm going to click one time on that yellow background, and now it's got a double box around it, which means everything that I tell it to do is going to be based on that background shape. So this yellow box is my base, and everything else needs to line up around it. Go to align till it line up in the middle, and now my white one lined up perfectly in the middle based on that yellow box. And then I'm going to horizontal or vertically align it middle, and the white one moved, but the yellow one stayed centered, so it's still on my artboard. Okay, and then I just click off of it, and neither one are selected, and now I can lock my background and just move this yellow box or frame if I wanted to. If I don't, I'm going to lock it next. Okay, clicking over here, and then I can add another layer and start putting text on it or whatever I want. Okay, so I just click here, start typing. This is my product start or product sample. Okay, so there's my text. I'm going to hit escape to get out of that text tool. If I hit V, it's just going to type V, so that doesn't work, right? So hit escape to get out of the text tool. This one, see how it's green with the bounding box, is now on layer 3, which I'm going to name text, so that I know where my writing is, right? If I need to lock it or I need to unlock it. And then I can either resize it by holding shift so that it doesn't skew my image. I want it to stay ratio-wise perfect, okay? And grab a corner and pull to resize it, okay? Let me show you what happens if I don't hold shift. I can go squishy, I can go more to the side and make my, see how that gets all nasty looking? You want to hold shift so that it holds its ratio, okay? Now I want to change my text. So remember this A or character is my text tool, and I'm going to change it to something fun over here. I'm just going to randomly select noteworthy. Okay, I can change the size to fit my page using this text up or down tool. I can change, if it had more than one line, let's put an enter in there, and I wanted a little more space between those lines, I would use this up and down tool. Okay, so that's giving it more line height. If I needed more room between my letters, then I could use this one and see how it spreads it out a little. Okay, you can also just put values in there, like I want it to go back to normal, so 0. Okay, some fonts will have your options, bold, italic, etc. Others won't, and you'll just have the whatever option is available. It's usually just regular. This one has 2, light and bold. Okay, so I can't italicize it. I can't do a regular. It's either light or bold. Okay, and then you change your font again here. You can change it so it's centered font. So up here, like similar to Word or PowerPoint, if you want your text to be all center aligned, it's here. If you want it right aligned or left aligned, okay? And then you can change the opacity, which is this tool up here. And you can do the same thing with shapes on that one, which I didn't show you. So let's unlock this board and go to the shape. And here's your opacity. You can either change it manually, like say I want 70, or if you click on it and then slide on your mouse left or right. I'm not sure how this works if you have a mouse. This is with a trackpad. If you slide left or right, you can change it till it's like in a range that you like. Okay, I'm just going to go back to 100%. And that's pretty much all of your tools that you're going to use if you're making something product-wise, or maybe you're making a PDF or an opt-in for your blog or whatever. But this is where the design's fun comes in. Okay, so now this product is finished. Let's do one more thing. Let's drag and drop some clip art in. So if I go to my clip art file, and we'll just randomly select something. Oh, pineapples, they match the yellow we're working on, okay? So on a Mac, you can just drag and drop these images into Illustrator, okay? And it puts it in there, and it's ready to go. If it has this line through it, okay, that means it's just following that file path. It's not actually part of your product. So if I were to go and rearrange my clip art someday and move that Crystal Walden file somewhere else, this Illustrator file would not be able to find that pineapple anymore. So what I want to do is embed this clip art. So now it's part of this file. Then I can resize it, I can crop it, whatever I want to do to it, okay? And on it, actually I would have created another layer for this and called it clip art. And I want to move that pineapple to this clip art layer. So I'm going to select the layer I want it to go to, right click on him, arrange, send to current layer. Now, why are layers important? Okay, now that we've got all this stuff on there, that's where it comes into play, right? I made the frame, I made the background, great. I could have just made a box with an edging on it, right? Or a stroke on the outline. But maybe you've got pattern paper back here, or maybe you want this clip art to kind of go over your words a little bit, okay? Or over a shape. Let's move one of these over and pretend that we want our pineapple to be sitting in front of this box, but we're going to turn it orange. Oh, you don't see it. Why is that? Okay, this shape that I just moved over was made first, and it's smaller than this background piece here that's covering everything else. So you can't see it because it's on the layer behind there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, and then I usually use keystrokes for this, so I have to figure out where it was. I think I can just hit two-finger click, arrange, and I want to send this all the way to the back. Okay, so when I do that, then that other piece should be right here, even though I can't see it. Okay, and I want to send it to this clip art layer. Actually, I'm going to send it to the frame layer. So I'm going to right click on it, arrange, send to current layer. So now it's on the frame layer, but it's behind this frame, so I'm still not seeing it. So let's lock, oh, it might not have moved because it was locked, sorry. Let's go back here. I think it might have, yep, it did. Okay, it moved to it. So I use keystrokes to send things forward and backwards because they're easier. So if you hit Command and then the bracket key, it'll send things. If you hit the left bracket, it sends things backwards. If you hit the right bracket, it brings things forward. Okay, so I'm currently selecting this frame here, and I sent it behind this triangle or this rectangle or square here. It's kind of confusing when they're all on the same layer, which is why I make separate layers so that I can find things and I can put them where I want them. I want the background to be in the very back, so it's at the bottom of my stack. I want the frame to be on top of my background, so it's next to my stack. I want my text to be probably the very top, so I would actually click and drag that to the top. My text is at the very, very top of that stack, so if I put it over something, it'll show over the top of that thing that's behind it. Okay, because it is at the very top of that glass stack, or the layers that you're creating. Say they're, transparencies or something, right? The very bottom transparency has the background. The next transparency is my frame. This transparency is my clip art, and then this transparency is my text. And then I've sandwiched them all together to make one visual. Okay, so now I want to put this clip art on top of this square, but I want my title to be visible over the top of all of them in case it was a little bit in front of it, okay, or overlapping it. Okay, so there's my product. All done. I can lock things that I don't want to move anymore. I can add to it. I would make sure I was on my clip art layer before I drug more clip art in. I think you can also object open and then copy and paste in there. I usually just have the two windows open and drag and drop what I want in. So if I wanted other clip art, I could grab the next set of clip art. I could grab 2 or 3 at a time, okay, and bring those all in. So that red bubble 3 is telling me I'm bringing in 3 pieces of artwork. It stacks them all on top of each other. The lines are through, showing me that they need to be embedded. So I embed them, and then I resize them and rearrange them where I want them. So let's put this guy right here. This one's out swimming. This one's in the grass. The grass is behind, which is good, but what if it had been in front of him and I didn't want that? Then I would select this grass and I would hit Command left bracket to send it behind that artwork. Okay, so they're you're gonna have layers on top of layers. Okay, so there's my work. What if I always want these two to move together? Okay, so I can select this pineapple and the grass. See how my bounding boxes show me I've got 2 things selected. I can hit Command G, which is going to group them, or I could hit Object and then Group up here. See, and it tells you off to the side right here that Command G is the keystroke to do that if you don't want to have to come up to your folder or your file bar every time, or your toolbar. So now if I click off of them and click back on them, they're selected together automatically. If you don't want them grouped anymore, then you hit Command Shift G, and that will ungroup them, and then you can move them separately again. The other trick with Illustrator is if they are grouped, hold on, I gotta regroup them. I want Command G. Okay, so now they're regrouped. Maybe I don't want to ungroup them, but I still want to edit one. The grass is a little too big or something. If I double click on the grass or on the group itself, see how it goes gray up here, and it tells me you're in isolation mode and you're looking into this group right now. And then I could select the pineapple, or I could select the grass, okay, and I can manipulate them inside the group. Then I can go back out, either hit escape or use this back level here, okay. The highlighting goes away, the rest of my product's not gray, and now I was able to change the grass, but I kept my grouping on that object, so I don't forget to go back in and regroup them. I can just go into them and edit them. Okay, so now maybe I want to edit my pineapple a little bit too. Okay, do it at the same time, and you've got the whole thing, okay, ready to go now. So what we're going to do is we're going to save this file and we're going to save it as a PDF. Okay, because that's usually how you're going to sell things. You're going to sell them, you're either going to use it as an image and put it into something, or you're going to just do it as a PDF right off the bat. So let's go File, and then we want to go Save As. Okay, and I'm going to save this into my in progress folder. It's going to be my sample product. Okay, and currently it's an Illustrator file. This AI means Illustrator. I want it to be a PDF, so I'm going to click on down here on this format and scroll until I get Adobe PDF, okay, which is right here. There are other options. We don't need those right now. I'm using all of my artboards. If I only wanted to use one artboard, which would be the one that I actually did the work on, then I could click this and change it to just Artboard 2 is what I want to save. Right now we're just going to do all of them. Okay, I'm going to hit Save, and I'm going to get some options. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you change the file size. Right now it is huge. Okay, so you want the smallest file size available. So you click here and you scroll down to smallest file size, and then once that's selected, then you need to put some security on it. You don't want people to be able to lift your clip art, and you don't want people to be able to take your text or any of your other pieces of it, right? So you're going to password protect it, put your password in, whatever it may be. Okay, you want high resolution printing, because obviously this is going to be a printable that someone's going to be creating or using once they purchase it from you. It's okay if they can insert, delete, and rotate pages. Maybe they want to change the size of the printing, or they don't want to print certain pages, so you can leave that. This box right here needs to be unchecked. That's what allows people to lift your text, your image, and other content out of your PDF, and you don't want that. So you uncheck that box, then you click Save PDF. Enter your password one more time to make sure you typed it right both times. It's kind of a double check for you, and then click OK, and then it saves your PDF. Let's go open that. So in progress, my sample PDF right here. See, you can tell it's a PDF because it's got this nice little spiral bound side. There's that first page where we messed around with the shapes, and then the next page is my sample project. Okay, watch. Can I steal this clip art? It highlights that there's clip art there. Watch what happens when I do Command C though, and I go to paste it into something else. Nothing. Okay, it's secure. Okay, it doesn't, I can't pull anything from this and use it for something else. I could Photoshop it. There's other ways about that. I know there's ways out there to steal things out of PDFs, but as far as you're concerned, you did what you could to secure this product. Okay, the only other way you could have made it a little bit more secure is maybe put some patterns behind this clip art, but since I'm not actually selling this, I'm not that worried about it. This is actually just going to get deleted. Okay, so that is a down and dirty how does Illustrator work for creating, and come back and watch this anytime you need it and use it as a reference. Send me questions if you need to. Things about keystrokes you can usually find. Remember, it'll tell you, open a new file, command, this means command, this little swirly thing, command N on a Mac. On PC it'd probably be control, okay? But everything that you need is basically here. You just have to figure out what it is and start remembering where it's at. And then the most important part is your artboards, okay? It's how many pages. And then your layers, how are you going to stack it so that things are laid on top of each other and start to make your workflow more simple and easy. And I will show you that in other videos, such as how to create your covers with Illustrator, and then how to create a product with Illustrator. So make sure you check out those courses if you haven't already. Thanks.